We obviously need to have a mission, purpose, which oftentimes ties into our career, our work. And if it doesn't, then that's something I encourage you guys to think about, how you can set purpose up within your work so that each day it becomes something that really, really drives you to become better and to serve at a higher level other humans and God.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in.
You know, there's something so amazing about shutting all the noise off around you, getting out into nature and walking around just to clear your mind and to see what's processing inside, right? What God's moving in your heart. And he has a message this morning that was very powerful for me to learn. I want to share it with you guys today. This idea of the three spheres of life. The three spheres meaning the first sphere, a matter of time that you spend or a matter of bandwidth that you spend each and every day on these different spheres. So the first one would be your work or career. Like how much time physically and mentally do you spend each day on that? Second sphere is the sphere of relationships, both personal and professional. How much time do you spend each day nurturing those, growing those? And the final sphere is a sphere of self. How much time are you working each day on working on your inner game, mindset, your heart, in prayer and meditation and personal growth, all of those things. So if we take those three spheres, this is something I learned from my coach. You take those three spheres and you draw them on a piece of paper and have the size of the sphere correspond to the amount of time and effort each day you put into those different spheres. For you, which sphere is the biggest and which is the smallest? And then ask yourself the next question. Why? For me, when I first did this exercise, thought it was kind of goofy and hokey, but I did it. And over 90% of my bandwidth and time was spent in work, career, business. Maybe 7 or 8% was spent on nurturing relationships and building relationships and being present in relationships. And the last 2-3% was focused on building myself, spending time with God and all of that. I was so focused as an achiever on constantly thinking about work, and in that, trying to give out of a bucket of myself that was empty. And it was a struggle, a massive struggle for me, until I realized that this isn't how it has to be. Just because this is how it is now, it doesn't mean that the future has to be the same. The spheres don't have to be the same size. My bucket doesn't have to be empty. What I learned along lots of time and pain is that we as humans have the opportunity to refocus our minds, to reconnect with those other buckets. And what I found was once I started taking some time away from the work career bucket and started moving it into the relationship bucket, man, everything changed. I started becoming more present in my relationships, finding more ways to interact with my sons and my wife, and to spend more quality time there, to make that a priority. But we only have so many hours, right? No matter who you are in this world, we all have 24 hours in a day. The question really is, what are you spending those 24 hours a day on? Are they on things that are going to move the needle long term? Or are they just for short term? Are they just for work, just for relationships, just for self? We need to work on a balance. When we can balance those, and we obviously need to have a mission, a purpose, which oftentimes ties into our career, our work. And if it doesn't, then that's something I encourage you guys to think about, how you can set purpose up within your work so that each day it becomes something that really, really drives you to become better and to serve at a higher level other humans and God. But on top of that, next thing is your relationships. What relationships in your life could be better? What relationships could you improve and nurture if you could pull some time out of the work bucket and put it into the relationship bucket? And then finally, of all of those things, you can't give somebody something you don't have. And what I mean by that is you can't, if your bucket is empty because you're giving in work and you're giving in relationships, whether it's at home or at work, And then you want time for yourself. You want to be able to fill your bucket back up and to fill your heart and your soul back up with incredible energy to give to others and to serve and to be and to show up as a better person. You need to actively, purposefully work on filling that bucket. And I say all of this because as I'm on this rock this morning, I think, you know what, spending an hour like this in the woods, moving through, choosing to suffer with the weight, choosing to suffer with all the spider webs and all that good stuff, all for one bigger purpose, so that I can spend time with my Creator. I can spend time processing things. I've now put time into my life just for me, just for my time to rebuild and to restructure. So when I go back to work or go back to those relationships, I can be there a fuller, more alive person to be able to serve and to give. So if you guys are out there and want to do something fun, here's my recommendation. Just think about work, relationships, and self, and assign them a certain percentage. There's only 100% to work with here, of course. So assign how much time, not just physical time in a week that you spend, but how much time do you spend mentally as well? You know, sitting on the couch at night thinking about work. What are you going to do for the next day? You might not be physically working, but that all adds up. So think about how much time you spend in those 3 buckets, those 3 spheres, and write out a percentage. And then draw circles to represent that. So if it was like where mine was, it was 90, 8, 2. So 90% work, 8% was relationships, and 2% was self. And then I look at that and I say, what could I do today, right now, that could help balance that out a little bit more? What could I do that could help get me more? Now, they don't have to be flat. It's not all 33%. It doesn't have to be that way. But how do I build a better life based on this new information that I have? And guys, when you start doing that, you look at it that way and you say, wait a minute here. I could go and I could take my wife out for dinner tonight. I could watch a movie with the kids. I could rob from the bucket of work and put it into the family relationship. And then from there, what about self? What can you do for self-care? Is it just taking a walk in the woods? Is it going hunting or going on that fishing trip you've always dreamed of? Is it each day working on prayer and meditation, getting connected back with your Creator? What is it for you? Morning. What is it for you? What could you do today that would cost nothing but a shift in perspective that would allow you to take what you just learned, those 3 spheres, and make them more powerful, encouraging, and empowering for you to grow, to become the person that God always created you to be, and not stuck in what you think you have to be? Guys, it's a big question. The answer to this question could lead to many, many other questions, and to such growth and personal peace, joy, love, and fulfillment deep down in your soul. So do that today. Figure out your percentages. Draw circles, take a look, and figure out what you want to do right now to shift something that might not be right for you. Guys, I appreciate you following along here. I appreciate you sharing this moment with me. And get out there and get some work done. Get out there and become more aware. The more aware you are, the more love, peace, joy, and fulfillment you'll have in your life.